Well, well, welcome all to this business conversation on clarity when your business is between versions. I hope everybody on the panel is ready to talk about that. If not, you got a couple seconds to decide what you want to say. And just as a reminder, this is a conversation, so we're encouraging the panelists to crosstalk and to keep it lively. You're allowed to agree, disagree, etc., and you don't have to respond to everything, but feel welcome to respond to anything. I'm going to start by asking each of you, and Peggy will go last. So we'll go in order, starting with Vanessa, to just do a quick summary on who you are, like not the whole of who you are, obviously, because it's a business thing, but whatever feels pertinent to this conversation, what your business is, and why this topic matters to you. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Vanessa.
I'm muted. Okay, good.
Sorry about that.
That's
Nobody
okay.
puts baby
I
in the
did
corner.
So Vanessa Lindsay, and I am out of Georgia. And so what do? Who am I? There's so many facets. So I'm just going to talk about, I'm a nonprofit strategist specialist. And so why this is important to me is because there's so much confusion in the nonprofit world. And so clarity is so important in order for us to be able to make that impact and fulfill our mission. You have to be clear on what we're doing.
Facts. Tanya? Also muted. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Fisher, and I am an intellectual property attorney as well as a fitness professional. So this topic is very important to me, especially if you're multifaceted or you have things that you can offer, but they are in vastly different industries. So how do you pick and choose? Which one do you lean on? Can you merge them together and the like? So this is quite the topic.
Heard.
Bonjour, everybody. I am Emily. I'm based in New Zealand and I run a skin clinic and I'm a makeup artist and a confidence coach. And this is a topic that's important to me because this is literally my reality. I'm transitioning from an in-person business onto an online business whilst I'm fully booked in person. So I live this day to day.
Wow. Right. And it's tricky, right? So one of the things that I wanted you guys to talk about is when your business is shifting, a lot of times your identity shifts with it. And sometimes your identity shifts your business. So and maybe I'll let you guys pick who goes first. Or how you participate, but like how do you feel that identity and that sense of who you are evolves either in concert with, before, or after this business shift?
I'm going to go first on that one, if I can.
Please do.
So I'm 4 years into my business. Technically, I created my company in 2020, but I'm only 4 years into trading. And I've really landed this year in, I'm not too sure who's creating who and who's building who, because I think my business is actually building me as much as I am building her. And it's been really interesting to see how being in business has forced me to go and walk with my shadows and confront, my money mindset problem, my confidence problem, my visibility problem, to really go and step up into what is required of me to be a business owner, and to go and meet that upfront and to go, hey, this is not how I want to be. This is not who I want to be. So who do I need to be in order for this to work? And I think this is really what a business is doing, right? It's forcing you to look in the mirror as to who do I need to be, and it's pushing you there.
Absolutely. Those are definitely great points. And I'm kind of along the way. It's funny, I was telling a girlfriend, I say, every day when I wake up, I'm somebody different because I learned something yesterday that should have changed me for today. And so each day I'm different. It's like, okay, because, and especially with the world is changing so fast and the internet. I started my nonprofit in 1987 and we're still going strong today. So the dynamics in the nonprofit field has changed, and who you are and what you do and how you step out there, it changes constantly. And so I'm always looking at myself and saying, okay, now who are you today? Because before, you had to wear all these different hats. And you still got to wear all these different hats, but you're wearing more. So it's really important that we're able to identify the core of who we are, because so many things are changing around us and we're changing, but we still have to hold on to that core. So I keep remembering, who is that core of who I am today as I'm changing. So and my business has changed because the dynamics is so different today. And then the dynamics of me going from being in the nonprofit to teaching nonprofits and that's a total different thing, because now it's like, okay, you got to remember, you have to wear that business hat, not that charity hat. You're not a nonprofit anymore. So it's just amazing, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I think so too. I guess I'll go next. So one of the things, especially depending on where you're coming from when you are starting your business. So a lot of us, maybe we're coming from a company and, I'm coming from a professional field. So a lot of things are already done for you. If you're an attorney and you're with a firm, yes, you have to go out and network, but a lot of times you get the clients to come to you. Whereas when it's your own business, then you have to understand that, no, I have to go out and get my clients, but how am I presenting myself I'm a owner now. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an employee. And you tend to forget that. And you have to kind of remind yourself, like, hey, not only I need to make money, I need to meet people, I need to have information and products for different people. Whereas before, a lot of that is usually handed to you. And I think a lot of times when people start their own businesses, particularly if they're coming from a large corporation or a company, you take a while, and it could be years. You really don't have that time to separate yourself from employee to owner, leader, team leader. Even if it's just you have to make sure that you're doing what you need to do and make sure that you don't fall back into employee mode. And it's so easy to do. So each day, like everyone said so far, you do have to remind yourself, hey, I'm the boss, I'm the employee. And sometimes, you have to put yourself in a place of being your client or customer too.
Mhm.
That's a great
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really
It does.
resonate with that,
Hmm.
Yes.
Peggy, because I knew I wanted to do makeup when I was 3. And that was not beauty is not supposed to be a job in my life. My mom's a biochemistry engineer. Beauty is not supposed to be a job. It's supposed to be a passion. I fought and I made it my job. And now that it is my job and that I'm fully booked and all of the things, I also need to do something else in my free time. And I have no clue what that is because my passion became my job. And so I'm really in that kind of realm of who is Emily outside of her work, because I'm the face of the business. Literally, I am the business, right? I'm the best advertisement for my business. So I really resonate with that, in that who is the business and who is the person.
Yeah. It's a really important, I think, especially as founders and solopreneurs, that can be an incredibly interesting and sometimes challenging distinction to make. So, or do you have something
And
to add? Because I have another question, but I don't want to stop you.
I do want to add something real quick on that, because as Peggy was talking, everybody was talking, I was thinking about that identity shift, because we've all shift identities, going from corporate or to being entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. And so we know that we're good and we've done what we've done for so many years. But how many of you still feel imposter syndrome about now with that shift that you have? Am I really that good? Do I really know what I know? You know what you know, but you're like,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and I
really
work as a
great.
confidence coach. That's something I work with my clients, right? And I still feel it so deeply.
Yeah. We're often
yes.
best at teaching things that we had to discover, right? The things that come intuitively to us, we don't really know the steps because it's just how it is, right? But the things that we had to develop our own understanding of, often we can teach much better because we had to arduously learn every step of how that works and break it down. So, one thing that I know happens for a lot of us as leaders or founders is we feel a pressure to have clarity. And sometimes we can kind of mix that up with a need to take action. And so, how do you discern between having clarity and feeling that I have to do something and not necessarily understanding the distinction?
Well, for me, I'm just going to be total transparent. I have, you know how you people say ready, aim, fire? I've always been fire, right? I'm a fire first.
Exactly.
And then when I see I'm off target, I'll aim a little bit, and then I'm ready, okay? But I got
Okay.
to do it that way because I am a total, what they say, a creative visionary. So I want to do all these different things, right? And so that clarity sometimes doesn't ever come for me because I'm just doing it, because sometimes we can, get so caught up in trying to be clear and thinking that we don't get anything done. But then for me, I
Hmm.
get so many things done that I forget what I'm doing, right? So there needs to be a fine balance. And so sometimes I'm not as clear. And it's really funny because I offer a Sunday clarity call, which is a free Sunday clarity call for us to get clear. But as I'm on this clarity call with everybody else, I get clearer and clearer in what it is what I want to do. Because sometimes we may think that we're clear, but what we think is clear, our customers don't want that. So we
Yeah.
have to shift a little bit to determine what it is that they want, not necessarily what we want them to have.
Yes.
Well, and specifically, I was talking about that distinction between when you act out of desperation, which is really different. So, like, a lot of times we feel that pressure. We're supposed to know, we're supposed to have this answer, we're supposed to get people engaged, and we just dive in out of this desperation or fear rather than discernment. So we're like, oh, I have to do something without getting some sense of like, actually, is this something I want to do? Is this the right fit for me? When I talk about clarity, I don't necessarily mean, because that's like experimenting. Like a lot of times clarity comes over a series of small changes and experiments, but I don't mean big clarity necessarily. I just mean that difference between desperation and like informed action, I guess.
I think that this is where knowing yourself is really important, because when we're in a situation where we need to make a decision, we're going to default to the 5 Fs, right? So we've got freeze, fight, flight, flop, and I forgot what the fifth one is. And so when you actually know who you are and when you know what your process is, that is going to help you be into action and kind of do the next right thing, take the next right step. Whereas if you default and you end up procrastinating, it's all right, this is where you're actually working against yourself. But in reality, the only clarity that you need is that there are very few decisions that are permanent. Very, very few decisions are permanent. And so we're all going to make mistakes, because whichever best laid out plan or something, like, shit's always going to happen. Sorry, am I allowed to swear on this? Things are always going to happen.
Apparently.
And so when you know you and when you know how you work, how you process, this is really safeguarding you and kicking you into gear. And it's allowing yourself the grace of making mistake, the grace of experimenting, the grace of deciding, actually, this is what felt right then because that's what I knew, and today I know more. And this is also where comparisonitis comes into place, because it's really easy to see on social media or wherever, oh, well, this person did this and it worked for them within like 3 months, and I've been doing this for 6 and I'm still nowhere. Well, are you better today than you were 3 days before? Are you better today than you were 3 months before? And if you are, then there's progress. And I think the only way through sometimes is through whatever that looks like for you, as long as you support yourself and safeguard your nervous system through it.
Yeah. And Vanessa or Tanya?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
No, Tanya, you were going to say something. Sorry.
Oh, no. Well, I almost have a little different take than, because you all are very much action makers and action takers. And I always tell people I'm the ideas person. And it took me a long time, because I have always been the one that everyone relies on and they come to me for information. I'm the research person. And so I'm supposed to help everyone with action, right? But I'm not the action person. I always say, if we're in a group, I got all the ideas. I will tell you how to do everything. Well, the issue is with clarity with me, and definitely talking about desperation, I defer to my audience or community a lot. And it's because when you don't have that clarity, you're thinking, okay, if this didn't work, that didn't work. Okay. And again, I do legal and I do fitness, and they both worked. So if when I'm doing something legal and what I'm doing and it doesn't work, then I say, oh my goodness, I'm doing the wrong thing. We're talking about imposter syndrome. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not putting myself out as being the attorney, but I know I can really outshine myself when I'm doing fitness. Then I'll switch over to fitness. Well, that's not working. So then I ask everyone, what do you want me to do? What am I not doing? Instead of really taking a look and definitely giving myself grace. I love that. But taking a look back to see what's going on. When we're talking about action or moving, then I'm at that, okay, squirrel thing. All right, if that didn't work, I know how to fix this. I know it did work. Let me go back to that. And when you have, or you're the ideas person and you've succeeded in more than one thing, you tend to see that as imposter syndrome instead of, being very multifaceted and being able to do more than one thing and be okay with it. But at some point you have to choose, or you're going to constantly be in that circle, and no one's putting you in that circle or making you, spin your wheels, but yourself. You just have to, that's when I think that clarity and that desperation, you have to just step back and see what's going on, take an assessment too, and watch your energy. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to add something woo-woo to that, actually. I don't know if anybody has heard of human design before. And so there are 5 different types of human designs. We have generator, reflector, manifesting generator, manifestor, and projectors. And depending on your energy type, you're going to actually act and show up differently. And so, for instance, people who are multi-passionate, they are often a manifestor or a manifesting generator. And so it's actually not possible for people who are in those human design to just choose one thing, because they're going to feel like they're freaking dead inside. And as a generator myself, I'm like a human battery when I'm fired up by something. And so knowing about your human design can really help guide how you work, instead of going against your design and how you were made to work.
You just give me a job and then don't let me do it. I hear it.
I know. That's important.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm. Thank you for that. So to come back to like this is that when you're in that space in between, like your business is transitioning or your identity is transitioning, and therefore your business. One of the things that like Peggy touched on is that a lot of times we perceive clarity, like what direction we're supposed to go, as like a big flash of, eureka moment. And often it's more these micro changes or small experiments. Can you share a little bit about what role experimentation has played as you work to find the next version of your business?
I'll go in for this.
Going, Tanya.
Because it especially me being all over the place with my business. This is the one where I decided, okay, let's see about merging things and also adding more fun. And it depends on where you come from. Where I come from, everything is a certain way. There's a certain path. There's a certain something you have to do. So it's very much stay on the path. Don't go willy-nilly. Don't give in to your feelings, your hobbies, your passions. You do the work, you get in and you get out. So I went through a couple of things that were like, well, how am I feeling today? What am I feeling? Maybe I'll just base a business off of that. And maybe that makes you seem like you're a little flighty and you don't understand. But sometimes you have to figure out, well, what am I really passionate about? And how can I bring that into the business? So let's talk about, really quick, I love fitness and it's what I do. And also I love legal. So I said, well, maybe let's put that together. I love journaling, I love lifestyle. Let's try and see how that all works. And mash it all together. Be experimentative. That's the whole thing. Just if anything, if what you're doing is not working already, that's fine. So you already have something that's not working. Why can't you just decide to do something else really quick and maybe that will work? Don't be afraid to actually experiment, but don't be afraid not to put yourself in the business. We're always told, well, what's our client? Who is our ideal client? What's the market saying? Be about yourself for about 5 seconds and then experiment with if you could do whatever the heck you wanted and it would work and be the best idea ever. Try it. You never know. And that's what helped me figure out, well, you know what? I can have fun. I can merge fitness. I can merge legal. I can look at those two together and I see those as experience businesses. And then maybe that was the key, that all I am is about the experience. And that's what helped me get clarity. It's just, you got to throw it all up in the air sometimes. I know they talk about throwing spaghetti at the wall. Throw it, not at the wall, but throw the confetti up and let it drop. Whatever drops, work with it.
Yeah. Love that.
I think it's about the transformation that you're going to offer, and that there are so many different ways to iterate the same transformation for your client, that if you know in your soul that the transformation that you're offering is good, you get to iterate with how many different ways and how many different services can lead your client to that transformation. So for instance, for me, when I launched my business, it was supposed to be a 2-session package with 1 session all about makeup, 1 session all about skincare. And then I had crickets when I launched my business. And that was like my worst nightmare. I had spent all of this money in renovating my space and I had freaking crickets. And then I pivoted, etc. And now we're 2.5 years later. And that idea that I had originally is one of my best seller. And the iteration today makes me so much more money than the first version that I created. And it took me collecting so many no's to reiterate and ask questions to my clients saying, all right, we went through this process. Is there anything that I haven't met you with? Do you still have any questions? And then iterate based on that and keep improving, because if effort is going to compound, I'm really well known for my follow-ups with clients. Normally you go for a makeup lesson, you're given a list of products, and then you're sent out into the wild. People could give me the tools to build a house, they still wouldn't know how to build a house, right? So if you give people makeup products, they still don't know how to do their makeup. And my first makeup follow-up took me 18 hours to write. And now they only take me about half an hour because I iterated, I made the process better. And also I wrote the first one before ChatGPT, so I had to do so much research and like collate information in my, and I had to learn my craft and language. But just trust that the transformation that you created your business for, like to provide for your clients, is going to resonate with them. You just get to iterate the way to that transformation.
Vanessa, do you have anything you want to add?
Oh, so you always got something to add, but
Yeah.
When people ask the questions and your mind is going all over different directions. So I hope I'm still on the right track. But as Peggy talked about earlier, is passion. And sometimes when we get into our field, we forget about our passion. And I lost my passion along the way because I was so busy building the nonprofit and just the hustle and the crying and the stress and da 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 da. But now I'm on the other side and I'm helping others do the same with all that stress. But then I just over these last few months, I had to look at and say, okay, I need to pivot a little bit, because we're all online. Everybody's saying, well, do this social media and do this and all these different things we need to do. And then I just realized, wait a minute, my client really isn't online. Where is my client? My clients are out in the community and they're out there doing the work. And so that means I have to pivot and get my butt from behind the screen, which we've gotten so comfortable with being, right? And I've got to get out in there in the community. And it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get out there, because that's where I started, knocking on doors, right? So you got to get back out there. And so then I started thinking, well, what is my passion? And as you guys talk about, what is my passion? And so trying to find that now, because I'm at this point. You guys can't see my hair; it's a lot really gray up there. But I'm at the last quarter of my life, right? And so I want to make it count, not only by giving to people, but I want to make sure that I'm enjoying my last quarter while I'm here on this earth, right? And so just being able to find out what it is that I'm giving value, but I'm having a good time. And so I'm going to be doing some non-traditional things, old traditional things that we used to do as far as marketing is concerned, to be able to engage the people. So I don't know if that was on the right track of the conversation, but I know it's like finding your passion, making sure that even though we're doing all this and we're giving to others, we've got to take care of ourselves first. When Tanya's talking about the wellness and the exercise and all that, that is so important. And we forget about that because we sit behind this computer all day long. And so we have to really, also think about ourselves first. And it's not selfish, it's selfless,
Yeah.
So
Yes.
self first.
Yes.
It has to be self first.
Yeah.
So I know I probably went off on the right side, but that's okay.
No,
It's the last quarter. I can say what I want to say. No,
That's right. You got the mic. You already said fire first. We got the rules. For our audience, during those times when you're in between, and I know Amelie, you're in that right now, what kinds of conversations were most helpful? Mentors, peers, customers, your own reflection? Like, was there something that just really sparked it, or was it similar to what we said before, where it's lots of experimentation?
I'm currently working with somebody who is changing my life and my business's life. Her name's Jamie Swan. We're friends, and she is really coming in to help me outsource, because I'm at the point where actually my business has outgrown me, which is really, really cool. And also, I haven't written anything down on paper. So there's nobody that can come into my business and actually do the work for me, because everything was on me, and I'm not a I'm not a systems person. My brain is a firework. I don't do drawers. I don't do this is what I did and this is what I did. And so I'm working with somebody who's, funnily enough, is a projector in human design. And so she really funnels my energy. And when I just word vomit to her what it is that I'm doing, she can give me a clear process. And then I can have that in writing, iterate, and know that I have an assistant. I can then give that to my assistant, which is super supportive. And so actually being clear, again, knowing you and being clear as to what is not in your zone of genius, because I don't want to say because I suck at processes, but also I never needed to. Like, it's just not something that I do, and it's not bad because there are other people that can support me. So bring in people that can support you in what it is that's not in your zone of genius, so that your business can thrive, despite you obviously only having one zone of genius, or multiple in Tanya's case. So yeah, that's my best advice. Know where your shortcomings are and find somebody to come in and fill that gap for you.
I think, and I'll come in on that one. It's so funny when we're talking about now, who were you speaking to? So I was floating between two worlds. So I had, of course, had mentors, and I'm going to put it in for Peggy. He's been, so helpful, because Peggy has seen me in all iterations of whatever idea I have, and she's brought me back into where I started. And like we talked about, it's always that first thing that you did, but you're always moving away from it. But oddly enough, while I was trying to go through my transitions of businesses, I went back to work. And I tell everybody why I did this. And it wasn't necessarily for the money, because no, my business wasn't, the iteration I was doing wasn't making that much money. But I did it for one reason. I had forgotten how to actually do work. I was so in the idea stage. So I went back to work to figure out how a company was run again, like what was going on. I went into management, so that helped a little bit with figuring out what to do. I did it in something totally different. Then I went back to fitness management. So I had left out of the legal. And it was so funny, and this is just recent, that I got out of it while I was working, and we're talking about recent as of Saturday, that I was speaking to someone within the company, and they were saying, you're here because you're passionate about what you do. You're very passionate about fitness, but that's where you're not as beneficial there as you think you are. Like you have too much to offer. Your passion of helping people is undermined by your passion of actually having a business where you could affect a lot more people, and where your strongest point, even as another fitness person, and I'm seeing you, is your legal. And it's so funny because I shied away from that because it wasn't the relaxed, passionate person. It was always that one that I was forced into that path. But all that to say is I love the legal. But because most people don't love the legal, then it made it not so fun for me. But if you listen to people, you listen to yourself, you get a feel of what you love, and then you listen to what other people say about what they see that
Yeah.
are your best qualities, because you are your biggest critic. And so
Mm-hmm.
where I'm thinking I'm not doing any of what I'm supposed to do, then it was like, you're not being helpful unless you go back to legal and you love it. No, it's not the most exciting thing for me, but I need it. And it brings me excitement when you do it because you make it exciting. So
Mm.
it's just, listen to other people and sometimes don't, shut off your own voice, especially when it's negative. That's the thing. Let other people say nice things and believe them is what I should really say. If somebody says something nice and they say you're doing something well, listen to them because they know what they're talking about because they see what you can't see sometimes.
Mm.
Yes, isn't that true? And we talk about hearing ourselves because we know our subconscious is like that's our mind's PR. It's like be quiet. I don't. My mind does not need a PR. Let me deal with my mind and what I'm going through. Quit trying to tell me what to do. And it is our subconscious just trying to run the show. It's like you ain't running nothing. Oh, we got to keep remembering that. Remembering that. So Tanya, what is your passion? I hear you have two of these things. Which one is your true love?
Well, this is the funniest thing. And this is what I tell people too, is I looked at all of it and I love overall, whatever it is to provide an experience in a way that this experience helps somebody get to that next level. We're talking about that transformation. So when I figured out what was the underlying layer, it doesn't necessarily have to be fitness. So I taught classes this morning. I have to go through a contract later on and do all kind of things. That's fine. It's the whole experience of it. Once I saw that underlying layer, and I don't know how this works for everyone else's business or for whatever they do, it's my passion comes from providing the experience in whatever I'm giving. So as long as I take hold of being able to make it fun, exciting, or just some type of experience that'll resonate so that the other person can get that transformation, then I can do anything.
Yeah.
And that's where once I allowed myself to figure out that I'm the experience person, again, I'm the ideas and experience person, then I'm okay. Then I was really able to sit down, like we were just talking about, create apps, create a whole structure, SOPs and everything in an hour instead of 6 months.
Yeah. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to sum this up, and then I'm going to ask you each to weigh on in a one last question. And you guys had a lot of similar overlaps. So one of the things Peggy talked about, not necessarily seeing the results that we want is not the same as not succeeding. I think that's a really important thing to remember. And Amelie talked about trusting your transformation, not worrying so much about how you're delivering it. So that uncertainty might come from how you're delivering it, but learn how to trust yourself and your transformation. And Tanya, one of the key points that you touched on was listening to how you feel, but then listening to what your clients need, which is a little bit different, I think. And I thought that paired really well with some of the things that other folks offered. And then in this last place, you and Vanessa were also really reflecting how important it is to let people shine your light back to you. Don't duck when that happens. And I really did love the way that you talked, Vanessa, about fire first. Like clarity, we have ideas about what clarity is, but sometimes clarity is you know exactly how you get information. You're aware. I go out and I try things and then I learn from that. And so I just want to highlight that saying, ready, aim, fire, that's one way and that's good. But saying fire, learn, re-aim is also equally valid. And that's an important way to understand what clarity is. So thank you all so much for your contributions. And then one other quick question, about 3 minutes before the breakouts, which is, when our businesses evolve, sometimes we have to let something go or leave something behind. How do you allow yourself to do that? Or what have you let go of for the next version of your business to emerge?
Well, for me, it's similar to that red ink. If it's not working, I don't I don't think that it's adding any value. If you're not adding anything, you're taking away from it. So I look at the things that's taken away from it, or the people that's taken away from it, and I let them go. Sometimes it's not what's in my business. Sometimes it's the people that's around me that I need to realize I need to let them go, because they're probably holding me back, or their energy may just be holding me back. So sometimes it's the people that I need to let go of.
I want to say definitely with Vanessa, what you just said, that was the biggest thing, because I know we talked about a little bit about clarity and desperation, but it's a lot of times you get people when you're in your business that they want to be your clients and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm doing something right now. I have clients, but then they're not the right clients or the person for you. And whether they're throwing money at you or the praises and everything and letting everybody know. I have someone who refers me all the time, and as we say, bless their hearts, but I'm like, where do you get these people from? Is that you have to let go of, one, people, and then the idea of who you think sometimes is your ideal client. Because if you're starting to get 10 other people that are totally different than the person you think you should have, let go of that notion that who you think your business is focused for is that person. It isn't. It isn't. And be okay with that. But letting go of people that don't serve you, because then if they're not serving you and your energy or who you want to be in your passion, then they're not serving your business, and then you can't serve them.
Yep.
That's so true. Very well said. Thank you.
I'm gonna say that it's still a hard process to let go of things. I was raised that when you let go of something, like when you choose something, you let go of everything else. Which is where, my not every decision is permanent has come really to rebalance that out. And in 2024, I reduced my service offerings by, I want to say, 75%. Which was a really, really scary decision to make, because some of my best clients came from those offerings. And I also know that physically, for me, full body massages were going to be harder to do, because there's a bit of a body size difference between people in New Zealand compared to people in Belgium, which required a lot more strength from me, which I can't physically do. And it was such a scary thing to align that decision with my inclusivity value and to trust where my business was leading me, and to actually go, no, making that call is the most inclusive decision I can make, because I can't say, actually, I can't see you because I physically can't see you. And that was not inclusive. And so honoring you when you say goodbye to things, I think, is really important, in trusting where your intuition is leading you, and also knowing that things can run their course, and that your window of capacity and your capabilities are two different things. And it's okay to say, actually, yes, I am capable of doing this, but my capacity doesn't allow this to live in my business anymore. And so it's just time to say goodbye and move on to something else that gives me more joy, that's more profitable, and that's going to serve more people.
Yes.
Oh, thank you all for being on the panel and for joining us today for this great conversation. That's all I got.
Thank